Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Leeds have, of course, just won 2-1 at home at Elland Road against Preston North End. Elland Road remains a fortress, unbeaten at Elland Road this season. And again, what a game that was. It was aggressive, it was exciting, it was end-to-end at times. There was 3 goals. It had everything, that game. But unfortunately, it had a lot of fouls. So Preston just, oh my God, they must have had, I don't know how many yellow cards they had in the end, but it must have been 7 or 8, including all the substitutes that came on and got yellow carded. But the amount of times they just wiped out our players, really, I want to see more yellow cards handed out for those kind of tackles. That aside, let's talk about the game. So that's the negative bit out of the way. But really, we deserved to win that game. The amount of chances we created. Preston were brave. Credit to them for being brave and for playing pretty much the way that they did at home against us, which is not really what you would usually expect when teams come away to Elland Road. But I think they did really well in what they were trying to do with their game plan. They obviously scored early, a pretty lucky goal the way it bounced around in the box, and then Miller's shot was going wide, and Will Keane manages to poke it in the right direction. But Leeds managed to get the job done. Our goal, the first one, was so well worked. I loved that goal. The way we came out with the ball, played the ball into Somerville, who then poked the ball into the path of Firpo, who on the touchline crossed it back across the face of goal, right to the back post where Dan James was just waiting to head it downwards into the goal, bounced under the goalkeeper and went in. It was such a good, cultured finish from Dan James. If he'd headed it anywhere else, I think the goalkeeper saves it. But because he headed it downwards, straight down, it bounced under the goalkeeper and went in. And I just thought it was brilliant. I think it was an excellent way for Dan James to take his 10th goal of the season. 10th goal of the season. And he's got a lot of assists as well. He's been fantastic, Dan James, this season. For me, we'll get onto this, but for me, I think Dan James was up there with my man of the match. I think he did really, really well today. Somerville, again, was brilliant, of course. But I think we are starting to need some players back in terms of Pascal Strauch and some of those other players as well, because I think at times today there were players that weren't maybe as effective as they could have been, and maybe they could have been swapped out on another day if we had people fit. So you'd imagine that if you had Strauch fit, you probably have Ampadu in that midfield rather than a Kamara or a Gruev or whatever. I think Gruev had a really good game, but I think at some point we need to have an actual right back so that we can play Gray and Ampadu in midfield. And then Kamara and Gruev can all just be actual midfielders and they can be rotated properly. I think Byram did well when he came on, but I think Firpo actually had a really, really good game again. I think Firpo was fantastic today, really do. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those where you have to be winning those sorts of games, and we managed to in the end, but the amount of chances that it wasn't even that we necessarily missed sitters, it was just like so close and really unlucky. The one where Dan James just managed to sprint through with all that pace he's got. He just went straight through everyone. Hold on, I can do that better than that. Like an F1 car, ran straight through everyone, chipped it over the goalkeeper, but it landed on the roof of the net rather than going in the back of the net. And I think he was very unfortunate for that to happen because I think Dan James, like I said before, had a really, really good game. I think Bamford was quite good as well. Even off the ball was his main good thing today. I mean, you could say that he didn't get involved a massive amount on the ball, but off the ball, I think he was really good because he managed to occupy those defenders and open up space for some of our other players. Hence that moment where Dan James managed to run through on goal and try and chip the goalkeeper. But I think we just need to have that different option. And I think when we brought Joel Piroux on, it did change things slightly, and we had a few more chances then because we had an extra attacking midfielder in there, really. And obviously he went and scored that penalty in the end, so it was a really good... It wasn't even a good penalty from Piroux, but because he sent the goalkeeper the wrong way, there was no way that the goalkeeper was ever going to be able to get to it. But it was quite central, but just to the keeper's right. But I thought he did well to take that. And the fact that he took it off Bamford, because Bamford was stood there with the ball, Piroux came and took it off him and then put it in the back of the net. Was very brave of him to do that, and shows the kind of striker's confidence, striker's arrogance that he's got. He puts that in the back of the net and Leeds win the game. And I think overall we deserved to win it. I think we had about 20 odd shots to their 8. And really, they created some chances, but we weren't troubled too much throughout that entire game. We managed to keep Miller quiet, who was the one who punished us at Deepdale. So but the fact that we managed to keep him quiet, I think, is something that I predicted as a bit of a one to watch. I can't remember. I was on one of someone's channel. I think it might have been on Joe's channel last week. But I said that basically Archie Gray should have learned from this and should have watched all the clips and learned how to play against Liam Miller in the meantime. And I think alongside Dan James coming back to help him, they dealt with him really, really well. They had two up front. There was no sign of Sunjic, but they had Wilkeen and Reese up front, and I think both of them didn't really manage to get themselves into the game, other than obviously Wilkeen getting on the end of that deflection. It wasn't a deflected, but like that almost accidental pass that he scored. But I think overall we dealt with them well defensively. I think Road and Ampadu were good. I think Ampadu maybe... I think there was a few players who were a bit rusty today. Look, I think Ampadu was rusty. I think Kamara was rusty. I think Bamford's touch was a bit rusty. I think Jorginho's touch was a bit rusty. So there was like 4 players of almost half of our team, almost half of our outfield team, who were just a bit off the pace today. Just with heavy touches. There was that one where Ampadu just completely missed the ball and it went under his feet. And you never really see that from him. Kamara a few times just letting the ball a bit too loose, and Jorginho the same. And I think that kind of slowed down some of our counter-attacking football today. So really we need to be a bit sharper and be concentrating on those sorts of things when we are playing in games like this, because if you drop the ball at the wrong person's feet, then they can go and punish you. It was obviously a lot of almost fighting, football fighting from the players as well, all pushing and shoving after a few bad tackles went in on Leeds players from Preston players, and somehow Bamford ended up getting a yellow card when he wasn't even involved. I don't know how he got one. You could see from his face when he got it, he was like, "What are you on about? Like, when did that happen?" But yeah, in the end, it came down to a penalty, and that ball bounced on the edge of the box. Rodon tried to head it back towards the box, and then Ledson, he had his arms out like this, and the ball bounced up and hit his arm. It's a penalty. He was complaining to the ref at the end of the game, but it can't be changed now, and it's always going to have been a penalty. It's in history now. It's written down. Leeds have won 2-1, 3 points, and obviously that keeps us in 4th. But it does mean that we keep up with that pack hunting that top 2 spot. It's us, Southampton, and Ipswich all fighting it out for that top 2 spot. And hopefully that just means that we can keep moving away from West Brom and those other teams in the playoffs and keep getting towards that second place spot. We're in a good position to keep getting wins. Obviously, next weekend we have Plymouth. That's the FA Cup. But midweek, and that I will be live for that game. But the midweek game against Norwich, I won't be live for because I'm away. But I will probably do a match reaction. But don't quote me on that. You might get a match reaction, hopefully. So yeah, thanks for watching Leeds Lately. Another victory for Leeds, another unbeaten game at home, and hopefully we can get some more players back from injury, and hopefully we can get some more players brought through the door as well, because I'd like to see Leeds make some more signings. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.